And wake up time. Now, it's early, I know, but don't adjust your computer screens. It's not that early. I'm not Ted. Andy Michelle filling in for Ted this morning, and I feel kind of honored here. This has been the spot. Harry Minium has
Big
been in
shoes to
here.
fill. Big
Rich
shoes.
Bradford's been here. Ted's been here. I'm now in the office. I
Good
feel
to have
honored.
you. Good to have you.
Thank you. I tell you what. Well, Ted left me with a boring week. There's not a whole lot to talk about, right? So.
Yeah.
All right, I know. It's early. I don't want to get too heavy too quickly, but I know people are going to climb into their computer screens and start throwing things at me if we don't get right away to it. So, outstanding performance by the offense, breakout job by David Washington. So, the big question, what does the quarterback situation look like now as we move forward?
So David's the starter going into this week's game at Florida International. And we went into this game, Andy, Schuler was going to play the first series, David the second, and then we were going to go from there. And we went 3-and-out on the first series, and then David comes in, and his first pass is a beautiful 53-yard touchdown pass to Zach Pascal. So we made that decision at that point. We're going to stick with him, and I thought he played very well, considering he only practiced for a couple days, 25 for 43, 365, rushes for 37. So he had 402 yards of total offense, and we'd been struggling the last 3 weeks to score points. And David's always been a good quarterback. You know, we talked about this going into the season. I said he's the backup starter. Things aren't going well, then we'll move him there. But he wanted to stay at wide receiver to start the year. Had a good year last year, but we needed him in this game, and he delivered.
He also had a reception in the first drive, so we'll just add some more things into there. The offense as a whole seemed to, if it was the spark or whatever extra it was, seemed to come together pretty good. It was the best game, hands down, by far for your receiving core last week. I didn't think we had but like one drop the entire game.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the good weather had a lot to do with it, the way David was throwing the ball. And this was against a Charlotte defense that was number one in the league coming in. But Zach Pascal had just a monster game, 11 catches, 231, 3 touches, and half of those catches, at least 5 of them, were difficult diving catches. He really stepped up.
It seemed like every catch he had was like over his head or a different adjustment or diving. It was, and then you got other guys came out. Fulgham had his first couple of catches and a second catch and his third catch. Well, probably what should have been a touchdown on that call that I'm still trying to figure out in the end zone. But
yeah, I'll no comment that call. So don't get in trouble with the league.
Also, the offensive line, you switched Butler over to right guard, right tackle, and there was a difference there. I mean, it seemed to solidify. I know you had a lot of stuff going on there with injuries and guys getting banged up, but even they played better that second half.
Yeah, we got some guys that are playing through injury up front. Troy's got an ankle, a shoulder. Connor Mewborn's got an ankle. Fisher, his knee is really bothering him. Nick Clark came in at center in the second half, played really well. Troy at tackle. Jeremy Cox stepped in. Ray was having some issues. He had the early fumble. He fumbled again. Luckily, it went out of bounds. But Jeremy stepped in and played really well, and that's going to happen. At times, your best players aren't always going to play their best game, and that's where the backups really got to come in. And we were fortunate in the O-line and at running back. A couple of young guys, along with Fulgham, who had been a backup, stepped in and performed at a high level. We needed that.
And on the defensive side, a little bit of a slow start. Kind of looked like the tempo got to him a touch, but then after the adjustment at halftime, they came out and gave up 10 points, including what I thought was the game winner stuff on the goal line stand there, only giving up the field goal after the fake punt.
Yeah, that big performance, particularly in the fourth quarter. You're right. They got us with tempo early on. Their running back Phillips was outstanding. T.J. Ricks played 102 snaps in this game. We've never had anybody here play that many snaps of defense. And he's probably going to be the player of the week. He should be. 18 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. He returned 28 yards. Falante Misher, 14 tackles. Marvin Branch, freshman linebacker, 11 tackles. Aaron Young played 100 snaps in this game at corner, had 8 tackles. Davila had 9. So they were on the field, Andy, for 106 plays, and that's really our doing, and we know it as a team. I give Charlotte a lot of credit, but they were 13 for 20 24 on 3rd and 4th down. So they kept so many drives alive, and we really stepped up defensively. You mentioned the second half and the fourth quarter, an outstanding performance, not only by our defense, but our entire team. We're down 9 with 8 minutes to go, and we score the touchdown. We get the big turnover, the forced fumble by Ricks, recovered by Shadow Williams, cut it to 31-29. You mentioned held them to a field goal, and then the 9-play, 75-yard drive to win it. Washington to Pascal, the 2-pointer to Duhart, and then the defense stops them. Just the fourth quarter was outstanding. We got to get better in the first 3 quarters.
As a whole, as a team unit, how big is the confidence boost from picking up that win at home and just feeling good?
Yeah, it's really big, as you mentioned. It gets us to 3-3. We're halfway to a bowl. We're 1-1 in the East, so we're tied for second place in the East. So all the goals we set out at the start of the season, halfway through the year, they're still there. The bowl game and competing for the Conference US East Championship, all that's still in front of our team, and we're pretty excited about that.
I got up this morning and got out. Almost went for the jacket this morning. It's a little cool. Didn't do it. Almost did, but we're not going to need any jackets where we're going this weekend because down to Miami to see FIU. This is a team. It's behind us in the standings by a game, but they do put up some points, and they've had kind of an up and down season.
Yeah, really good team. They played 5 games on the road, Andy, out of their first 7. They're 2-0 at home, 3-4 in the league, 1-2, or 3-4 overall, 1-2 in the league. Alex Magoo, their quarterback's a sophomore. You've seen the progression from him this year. He's throwing for 240 a game. They're running the ball fairly well with Alex Gardner, and then defensively, Richard Leonard, their corner, is the preseason player of the year. Defensively, they're 4th in the league right now. This is a good football team. It'll take a great effort by us to get the win Saturday.
Leonard also special teams guy, and the returns and
phenomenal. Yeah.
He's dangerous back there. And they got a new defensive coordinator this year that they just brought in. So, what specifically? I mean, what are you focused on with all the weapons they have?
Well, the number one thing we got to do is get David more comfortable with what we're doing offensively. Having over 400 yards Saturday, he did it on 3 days practice. So we'll add to our package with him. As you know, Andy, he's as much of a run threat as he is throwing the ball. So we'll add some things in the run game for him. We'll get him more comfortable in the pass game. But this was a big boost for our offense and a big boost for our team. Everybody on the team saw the performance of the offense in this game, saw the performance of David Washington. So we've got a lot of confidence moving forward.
Almost looked like a little bit, he was kind of almost hesitant to run with it, which is good. You wanted to keep his eyes downfield, but there were times when he could have taken off with it, but he wanted to make sure that he exhausted every possible passing situation.
Yeah, he was. He was trying to stay on his reads, and he had some big runs. The biggest one in the game was on the touchdown drive to win it. We had a 3rd and 7 on their 39. He took off, gets 10 yards, was really explosive on that play. And we got to work the scramble drill some this week because he kept so many plays alive, and our receivers just weren't used to the movement out of the quarterback, where now the route breaks off and you go from being a 3-second quarterback to a 6-second quarterback. And nobody in the country can play 6-second defense. So the receivers just have to learn now to move, find the open windows, because David's going to extend plays, and that's something we'll get used to this week in practice.
All right, it's very early. I got to go find some coffee. We will see you this weekend down in Miami. We're going to South Beach. It's going to be warm.
It's going to be very warm.
Good morning, Monarch Nation. Stay with us. This has been Coach Wilder. Wake up with what?